Hare Krishna. A very warm greetings to the beautiful hearts who are listening to Sri Krishna Stories. Spiritual vitamins for a healthy soul. Today's story is, Dear Krishna devotees, what should be the last moments of life? Let's get to know about this from this beautiful story. Once upon a time, Bharat, after bathing in the river and morning rituals, he was doing his Pranava Japam for 3 muhurtas on the riverbank. Meanwhile, a pregnant deer came there alone to drink water. It looked around all 4 sides and put its mouth in the water. At that moment, it had heard a trembling roar. When she heard that, the terrified female deer rolled her eyes, her heart pounding, and jumped to the opposite shore without drinking water. Frightened deer jumped with high speed, due to which the infant deer slipped out of the womb and fell into the river. With great suffering, pain, and fear, the deer fell on the opposite side of the cave and died. Rajarishi Bharathar, who saw the deer's baby being swept away in the water, was very kind and carried it into the ashram like his own child. With so much love for the baby deer, like its own mother, he cared, pampered, and saved from other wild animals. He used to enjoy spending time with the fawn. He would be very much worried if it roamed somewhere without eye contact. He pitied the fawn's situation. She has come to me by the fate of parting from her circle. I have to protect the baby deer who surrendered to me. If the fawn is gone roaming, his mind will be troubled. He prays to the Lord to protect his penance. Thus, his pujas were stopped in a few days by the thought of baby deer always. The rituals, the penance, all stopped automatically. In fact, the witnesses are for the sake of humble who have taken refuge in them. They will consider the pleasures trivial. He loved the deer so deeply that while sleeping, standing, walking, bathing, and eating of the deer all passed in its memory. Wherever he goes, he takes the fawn along with him. It looks like a sack that encloses with a drawstring, carrying sin forever on the shoulder. Once upon a time, the fawn went somewhere and did not return for a long time. Bharat, who came up in the middle of the puja and saw it, lamented into various ways, wondering if it had been me, if the wild animals had hit it, or if I had failed to defend it. The thought of the baby deer was dwelling in his heart. Everything he had spent with that deer, he prayed to the gods and the sun and the moon for the good return of the deer. He was always disturbed by irrelevant thoughts and vain worries. Bharat, who lived as a Parama Yogi and an ascetic, renounced all tendencies and relationships from the monarchy and later, in a moment, became entangled in the influence that came in the form of a baby deer. He renounced all achievements and forgot the nature of the soil. At that time, Kaladevan had come. He was about to leave the body, saw the deer that was sitting quietly against itself on the verge of a death, and he lamented that he was leaving the deer alone and it would suffer. Bharat died in deer's memory. He was born as the deer in his next life because he left his previous body thinking of the deer on the verge of death. He remembered all the misdeeds he had done in the previous life. He was worried that he had been born a deer. Although I had been obsessed with devotional practices such as listening, singing, contemplating, and melting the qualities of Lord Vasudevan for a long time, I accidentally went behind a baby deer and got caught in a bondage. That warmed my mind. Our illusion can easily bind us, but devotion to Sri Krishna will free from us all bonds. Chant the holy names of Sri Krishna and win the bonds. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ante kale chamam eva smaran sattva-kalevaram yaha prayati samadbhavam yati naste atra samsayaha. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Every one of us, dear devotees, every one of us are mortal and would ultimately be facing death sooner or later. In this material world, if we are traveling to a new place, we try to gather as much as information as possible beforehand about the new place and ensure that we take the right mode of transport and reach our destination on time. Similarly, for our journey to spiritual abode, we need to make the best use of a human form of life and eagerly learn about how we need to prepare ourselves to face death. The merciful Lord Krishna has given us clear guidance through his verses in Bhagavad Gita as to what needs to be done in those difficult last moments of life. Thank you for listening to the story. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanam.